Welcome to today's explainer. For a lot of us, when the temperature drops, we're just thinking about pulling out our cozy sweaters or maybe looking forward to the first snow. But what if the cold wasn't just, annoying? What if your environment literally attacked your physical health and your daily mobility? Today, we're diving deep into exactly why winter isn't just a nuisance, but a massive physical hazard for individuals with physical and neurological disabilities. We're going to see how a simple chill can fundamentally alter how someone experiences the world.
Let's kick things off with this brilliantly blunt question from one of our sources. Hey there, why does disability humans fear of coldness? Let's get to it. I love how direct that is, right? It hits the nail on the head. Because the word fear here, that's used very deliberately. We aren't talking about a simple dislike of the chill. We're talking about an intense physiological aversion. So, let's get to it. We're going to unpack the deep biological mechanisms that turn a basic change in the weather into a major threat to health and independence. To break this all down, our explainer today is split into 4 key parts. First, we'll look at the overarching dread of winter. Then we'll zoom in on neurological misfires and spasms. Third, we'll cover the 5 specific cold factors. And finally, we'll wrap up with this cycle of discomfort.
Okay, let's jump right into section 1, the dread of winter, which is about so much more than just a chill. So, for folks dealing with specific physical impairments, like spinal cord injuries or neurological disorders, the cold isn't something you can just ignore by tossing on an extra pair of thick socks. It acts as an actual physical barrier. When the temperature drops outside, the environment itself basically turns into an obstacle course. It actively disrupts the body's internal systems, presenting a very real, tangible danger to an individual's autonomy. Now, to understand why this happens, we have to talk about thermoregulation. Simply put, this is your body's ability to maintain a stable core temperature. For the average person, this happens entirely behind the scenes. Your body is basically a smart thermostat, automatically working to keep you warm. But for people with certain disabilities, this vital function is totally compromised. Their bodies simply can't regulate that internal temperature effectively. Because of this physiological disruption, winter suddenly transforms from a pretty change of season into a major systemic threat. Moving on to section 2, neurological misfires and spasms, or what we can think of as faulty wiring. Let's look at the core issue at a microscopic, neurological level. Normally, your nervous system has a beautifully balanced reflex. Signals tell your muscles to contract, and then crucially, they tell them to safely relax. But for someone with a neurological condition or a brain or spinal cord injury, the calming signals that normally say, hey, relax, get blocked. Without those calming signals, that normal reflex turns into a hyperactive loop that just cannot turn off. The wiring is essentially faulty, creating this continuous, locked state in the muscles. So how does this actually play out in real time when someone steps outside? Well, step 1, freezing air hits the body. Step 2, that natural shivering reflex triggers, which normally is just your body trying to generate heat. But then step 3 happens. Because of those faulty electrical signals we just talked about, the hyperactive nerves massively overreact to the cold. And that leads to step 4, where the muscles are forced into a sustained, involuntary, and incredibly painful spasm. It's not just feeling a bit stiff. It's an involuntary muscle contraction that literally locks the body down. All right, section 3, the 5 cold factors compounding the chill. When we look at exactly why cold weather is so feared, it really boils down to 5 compounding factors. We're looking at poor thermoregulation, muscle stiffness and spasms, joint pain, reduced circulation, and reduced mobility. And the thing is, these factors rarely act alone. They layer on top of one another, outlining exactly why the cold targets the body so aggressively and why everyday environments become absolute hazards. Let's actually break some of those down, starting with that internal temperature control we mentioned earlier. Specific conditions like cerebral palsy, multiple sclerosis, or spinal cord injuries can completely disrupt the body's baseline ability to maintain a normal internal temperature. When your body can't automatically balance its own heat, stepping into a cold environment means your core temperature drops way faster and stays low. It makes it incredibly difficult and honestly dangerous to simply exist in winter weather. And that builds right into another major factor, reduced circulation. A lot of disabilities are directly associated with poorer blood flow. In practical terms, this means warm blood just isn't circulating down to the extremities effectively. So a person's hands and feet feel exponentially colder than they would for someone with typical circulation. And you know how it is when your hands are freezing, your fine motor skills just drop. For someone already managing a disability, this makes basic tasks outside almost impossible. Furthermore, we absolutely have to talk about the joints. For anyone dealing with arthritis or other musculoskeletal conditions, hitting those lower temperatures causes a sharp, sudden increase in joint pain and stiffness. The cold acts as a direct trigger. It exacerbates existing pain and makes every single movement feel tighter, heavier. It's like adding this relentless physical friction to every single step you take.
This brings us to our final part, Section 4, the cycle of discomfort and the true cost of independence.
There is this highly frustrating biological catch-22 at play here. Normally, moving more generates natural body heat, right? It keeps you warm. But because the cold brings on stiffness, joint pain, and those awful muscle spasms we discussed, individuals with disabilities are often forced to move less. And here is the trap. Because moving less means your body generates less heat, you become cold even faster. The symptom of being cold literally prevents the very movement you'd need to warm up. Ultimately, this creates a brutal cycle of discomfort that limits a person's independence. It's not just about feeling a bit chilly, it's about autonomy. When the temperature drops, mobility is severely limited. The cold turns the outside world into a literal barrier, stopping people from going about their daily lives, engaging with their communities, or sometimes even just leaving their homes without facing painful, involuntary physical reactions. To wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a question to really think about. If stepping outside literally locked your muscles, caused intense joint pain, and stripped away your independence, how differently would you view the winter season? Understanding these deep physiological reasons behind this fear of the cold, it really changes how we see winter entirely, doesn't it? It's a crucial reminder that our physical environment is experienced radically differently depending on the mechanics of our own bodies.